What's up, dudes? Lexra here. So today I'm doing something, I guess, really different. So a while ago, this, I guess, this company reached out to me to react to their upcoming boy group that is debuting this week. Actually, I think it's like Christmas or Christmas Eve that they're debuting. And they've got like this whole lore thing going on, like huge backstory, and like it's actually really interesting. So I'm going to go through this with you guys, and next week I'll be reacting to their video that comes out later this week. So this is gonna be very interesting. They do have here that their lore is not suitable for minors, so if you're a minor, bye. I guess. I read through it a little bit before. It's not that bad. It's just I guess it can be like a little dark, but it's really not too terrible or anything. So yeah, this group HDnG, they're a shadow boy group, which is like already very interesting. So they're made up of 4 members. They've got Roars, ➏엔젬, ➏ and X. So let's look up these pictures right here. I think out of them, it's from it's from these like shadows, I think ➏ has like a cool look. I don't know. Like some type of like bun or something on top of his head. But yeah, so let's start into it. So I'm gonna be like, I guess, jumping a lot because there's like secondary characters or whatever, and they've got backstories too. So I want to read those too. So when we get to like this person, for example, or that's the whole dimension, never mind. When we get to like some other person, then like we'll jump to those things. So okay, so first we've got the intro. So the 4 members of HDnG are shadows given a second chance at life. Number 1 is Roars. I'm gonna like mispronounce like a lot of this stuff. The Rama tribal. We've got number 2 ➏엔젬, the unseen spirit. Number 3 ➏ the found sun. And number 4 X, the riddle parable. So the 4 were among 100 inhabitants. So there's supposed to be like 100 like characters in this lore that they're like building. They're not done because at the very bottom there's like a release of like some more lore. So like they're not done, but yeah, there's supposed to be like 100 people in total in this whole thing. So very ambitious, I say. Yeah, the 4 were among 100 inhabitants whose tragic lives ended in a dystopian dimension called Re. So let's find out what Re is. That's not too much. So the world of Re is a complex, multi-layered, post-apocalyptic world consisting of 3 components: the pinnacle of man kings, the wild, and Yamag. So the pinnacle of man kings. All of the visible population in Re is concentrated here, often referred to as the city. In a landmass less than 0.3% of its original size, roughly 300 nations with a sum of 10 billion human beings are condensed into mixed-use skyscrapers linked by high-speed rail in the skies. Yeah, The average height of buildings is 314.7 stories high. That's so tall. See, I have a fear of elevators sometimes, and when I can, I take the stairs. You tell me I gotta go, let's say I live on like the 200th floor or something. No. The city was created by humanity in response to the apocalypse, which gave rise to the wind. The wild, I can read. The mastermind behind the architectural concentration is Elrond Majesty, non-candidate. First, let's look up the stuff. Open it up. That's script. I'm not getting too much into that. So the Wild. The Wild is the vast region surrounding the core city, extending all the way to what the inhabitants refer to as the edge of the world. The Wild is overrun by a form of CTVT that became the first dog-to-human case of transmission in history. What? Okay. Humanity's response was to condense themselves into an inner urban core by vertical architecture, as opposed to fighting head-on with the CTVT that over years is presumed to have also crossed the fauna-flora barrier to metastasize to plant organisms. And in all, the Wild is an off-limits area that covers over 99.7% of the original landmass. Despite this, the Wild is home to one single individual, Heon, candidate of X. So before we get into wait, so now we gotta figure out what the CTVT is. What is going on? Canine transmissive venereal tumors. Since this is actually on like the actual wiki, I'm just gonna, yeah, that's what that is. What? So anyway, we're just gonna so it's a tumor on the dog's thing. Are they sure that's what they want that to be? Okay, so let's jump back real quick because we've got Heon here, but let me see if, because we've barely scratched the surface of any of this, so he's gonna come up again, so I'm not gonna touch his thing. And then yeah, they come up too. So Yamag is an unknown realm that reportedly exists on top of the entire human civilization. Those who have visited Yamag claim the realm is an untouched state of nature that is in stark contrast from both pinnacle of man kings and the cancerous wild. Maybe that is what they're talking about. Maybe they really do mean that. Don't go to the wild. Reportedly inhabited by, reportedly, is that a word? Anyway, inhabited by titanic beings who are able to, so like titans? Beings who are able to create entire worlds with their voices. Okay, let's not go there either. Little else is known about Yamag, and the strongest evidence of its existence is the trace powers that people unlock after visiting and returning to the human world. Colloquially, Yamag is also used to refer to specific individuals who have visited the mysterious region and return with its powers. The first Yamag revealed is Nieve. I don't know how to say the name. Okay, so maybe it's okay there. Just don't go to the wild. Don't go to the wild. So let's go back. Okay, so we were here. Okay, so we've got the four boys. We've got Roars, Erison, Golden Age, and Axe are only shadows on cards, but can come to the light if they can solve the mystery of who they were previously. To find out who they were, the four boys have to slowly uncover the events that happened in Reem. Each of the 100 candidates have a unique glyptic, an indestructible belief that one holds on to, even after transcending the boundary of life. As the four boys uncover the glyptic of each 100 candidates, they will successfully remember who they were. That is a lot of work. The glyptic is what the 100 lived for. In fact, the glyptic is exactly what caused the ultimate death, as they gave up their lives for their glyptic. If the boys solve the mystery incorrectly and identify as someone else, they will cease to exist as shadows as well. If I forget what I live and was willing to die for, is that person still me? Code Warlord, candidate of Erison. The full 100 candidates and their glyptic will will be revealed over time on this official wiki. Yeah, that's gonna take them a while, I'm sure. So the advantage of the boys, the 100 candidates are divided evenly between the 4 members, which means each boy only has to choose between 25 candidates. The currently revealed candidates are Aya, candidate of Erison, Shown, candidate of Roars. So let's get into Shown. But since we started with Aya, we've got Aya's story right here. And then I'll just yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we'll just read through these first. So Shown, candidate of Roars, Code Warlord, candidate of Erison. Don't know how to say your name. Nieve? Neve? I don't know how I should pronounce this. Maybe there's a hint somewhere when you go to it. Oh, let me open hers real quick. Narabu?
Niefu. Neve.
Neve. I feel like maybe that's not right. Okay, so that's Chinese. Niefu is how they said it. This looks like Narabu. Yeah, Narabu.
날부.
I don't see how you get that from this. Okay, so I'm gonna pronounce her name as Nieve because I am unsure of everything. Okay, so Nieve Helan, candidate of X, the unnamed little one, candidate of X. So we're gonna get into Aya's story. Aya's glyptic is the utopian fragility. Aya grew up as orphans with her younger sister, Nieve. Okay, so we're gonna come back to her. In a slum skyscraper. Unable to cope with their parents' unusual death and responsibility as the elder sister, Aya grew up timid and alone, trying her best to secure a sense of what a home was. Nieve, on the other hand, did not ruminate over their parents' death. Aya drifted apart from an outgoing teenage Nieve, feeling like the lesser sister. One day in their young adulthood, Aya receives a strange message from a boy she has met only twice. Just like I knew how I was going to storm when we met, I know your sister has gone missing. Shown, candidate of Roars. Aya is then launched into a frantic search for her sister. Nieve was often not home. She learned to run away from home as a child and has disappeared for months before, saying she would start her life anew with multiple new men Aya had never met before. With who? Excuse me? This time, however, Aya knew it was different. Aya would not feel Nieve's presence in her heart for the next 40 days. That's a thing? You can feel that? And then the writing system. It's pretty. That's how you spell her name. That's nice. Via another cryptic text weeks later, Sean lends a helping hand by saying, think about who might have taken Nieve. Your life has been controlled by them this whole time. How can you turn around to control them? Sean, candidate of Roars. After receiving the text, Aya dresses in Nieve's outfit and makeup to wander around the hallways and elevators of the slums, smiling sinisterly at random strangers. As most strangers meet her with disgust, the reaction of 3 men catch her attention. 3 men freeze upon catching gaze of her, and Aya catches one of them whisper to the other, I thought I told you to get rid of it. Oh. Your sister might be perfectly fine. Okay, so Sean was the one who was communicating with her, so we're gonna go and check out Sean's stuff. So, candidate of Roar, Sean's glyptic is the Zeta? whatever that is. Right hand of Niev, lifelong friend to Ea. I thought they only knew each other, like, they only talked twice, didn't they? Oh boy, she's only met twice. Lifelong friend. I get, okay. Maybe they're friends after this point in time. They're gonna be lifelong friends. Sean grew up with a non-verbal, overweight father who relied on an electric wheelchair to get around. His father was a victim of high crime rates in the city and passed in a random assault. Left an orphan, Sean had little will to survive. So we've got the city. Let's just read, right? Okay. Just to be sure, though. Just to be sure. We did look up read, but yeah, that's all that. Okay. So, shown as agent of Niev. Niev, as the watchwoman of the city's organized and spontaneous criminal activity, recruits Sean in her operation. Sean was originally only fascinated with the illusion of seeing his father, who loved sightseeing on the city's numerous sky-high trains, enjoy the city once more. Niev did not stop Sean from the futile project of restoring his father's body to a normal appearance. They placed the restored body on his reprogrammed electric wheelchair, which carried the body around the city, riding trains and sightseeing without a care. Is he... Okay. The illusion comes to an end when the father, an obvious target of crime, is involved in a minor robbery months later. The assaultant was arrested by police on the spot thanks to Sean's monitoring of the father wheelchair system 24/7. Instead of an angry Sean, Niev is surprised to see Sean relieved. There he is. That is the man I am proud of. He helped bear the burden of one more crime, which could have been committed on a real human being. My father is a hero. He helped bait out a criminal. Niev, I know that's what he would have wanted to if he could talk and move. He would have wanted to help you, Niev. Sean Kennedy roars. The birth of the android empire. We are okay. There's a lot going on. After the incident, Sean dedicates every waking hour to advanced research on the programming of androids, with Niev's ability to reorder the energy level and entropy state of electrons as a Yamag. The two are able to... Yamags, they're the giant people, right? Are able to mass produce androids with human exteriors. Ha! Usually taken from a criminal post-death penalty, and sophisticated programming to mimic real human beings. The human exterior is often left battered and frail to establish an entire system of easy targets and easy victims, roaming and monitoring the numerous towers of the pinnacle of man-kings. The rates of spontaneous crime committed against living human beings sharply decline. So the pinnacle of man-kings, that was... Okay, so this is still Reason. Yeah. So that's like where everybody is, basically. Sean's glyptic, the Zeata, however you say that. Sean unlocks his glyptic in the process of programming his father's electric wheelchair and the masses of bait androids for Niev's crime-fighting operation. The Zeata is the summation of laws that describe how a person will react to any event that could happen to them in the world. Although complex, this set of reactions is not infinite, and therefore the Zeata of each and every individual can be constrained and defined. Once defined, a person cannot disobey their Zeata. The Zeata is the perfect summation of an individual's responses. An individual can only choose to switch to a new Zeata at any given moment. All individuals possess a Zeata. I'm saying this word. To be in denial or utter ignorance of one's Zeata is not life. If one cannot be aware of why they do the things they do, why they say the things they say, why they feel the things they feel. They are not living a life. They're having their entire lives, their entire single response handed to them. They cannot realize that behind their choices, a Zayada completely governs and controls them. To be aware of the Zayada is the first step to being able to choose a Zayada. If you do not like your current Zayada, what is it that you long to do, say, and feel? The answer to this question can be found. Please, Aya, search. I will always be here to support you. Shown candidate of Roars to Aya. Candidate of okay. Shown candidate of Roars to Aya. Candidate of Erison. Okay. That was pretty deep. Okay, yeah, that was pretty deep. Okay, so Aya's sister is Niev, but we're gonna come back to her. Oh, wait, we might come back to her now. Let me see where we at. Actually, yeah, because we're skipping Code Warlord for now, it looks like. So we've got her aftermath, but we've got her story here too. Once her aftermath is also in here? No, okay. So now we're going with the little, yeah, Niev is Aya's little sister. So she is candidate for Golden Age. Her glyptic is the destructive non-being. That's interesting sounding. She's the younger sister to Aya, the Yamog of Thunder, sleeping empress of androids, lifelong friend to Shone. So background, so Niev grew up with her elder sister Aya after the passing of their parents. She did not grow up being close to Aya. As the younger of the two, Niev was dominant, outgoing, and did not ruminate over losing their parents like Aya did. Niev dabbled in complex social circles for years as a severely troubled teen. Niev was assaulted 3 days after her 19th birthday. After the incident, Niev woke up in the care of the unnamed little one and Yamag. Okay, so this must be where like she disappeared, and okay, she was assaulted but she survived because those guys that Aya stumbled upon, who like actually had a reaction to her like dressing up as Niev, they were like, I thought you got rid of it. She's still alive, so that's good. Terrible that she got assaulted though, like right before her birthday too. Terrible. Okay. So through observing the titanic beings who lived in Yamag, creating worlds through their language, Niev awakened her own ability to control electrons through her words. That's pretty cool. She expressed her interest to return to her own world, and she awakened on the top of a skyscraper soaked in water like a newborn child. I'm very curious about the unnamed little one, though. Like, that's literally just their title, the unnamed little one. As the Yamag of Thunder, relationship of Shum. Upon her return, Niev controls electrons with the power she gained in Yamag to various effects back in her own world. She is able to affect machinery, disrupt electric signals in the human brain and heart, and in the most brute sense, generate enough ionic separation to call upon thunder to strike. No, she's cool. She uses her... I mean, Aya's got this whole, like, making androids or whatever. But I think this is cooler. She uses her powers mostly to track down people who have hurt her. Yet according to her own, so like vengeance, yet according to her own recalling of events as she researched their lives, she found out that these people were often victims of other perpetrators in their lives. When someone who has hurt you suddenly reveals themselves to be a victim too, does it generate automatic forgiveness? For me, forgiveness was not that simple, but it did change me. I changed my targets to the deeper penetrators in our society. Niev, candidate of Golden Age. Niev found herself in deeper circles of organized crime, and instead of exterminating them, she took control over their operations and financial resources. With her powers, she found herself sitting on top of most of the world's criminal operations. Niev was not complacent with her newfound status and economic prowess as an orphan girl from the slums. She turned her attention to preventing two other types of crime, spontaneous and domestic. May I say that I would love to like watch this as like some type of, if this was a show or something. This is all so intricate and like so interesting. I like her. Like her in general. Just she's got like some interesting stuff going on in like her side. Due to the dangerous nature of her work, she returns home once in a while, pretending to waste her life away partying outside. Oh. Niev understands what she's doing is dangerous and does not want anyone to harm Aya because of her. The facade succeeds, and Aya is left alone most days with no one suspecting their relationship. Meanwhile, Niev purchases rights to over 30 skyscrapers in the neighborhood to watch over her sister. What? You got money like that? The rights to over 30 skyscrapers? We're saying those skyscrapers were like 300 something floors, right? Or stories? Yeah, organized crime, okay. Later, in one specific attempt to help a specific victim of spontaneous crime, she was not able to prevent the crime from happening, but she managed to save the life of the victim's son. Shown. Rise as the Empress of Androids. After losing his father, Shone had only... Okay, I got confused about the androids part because I was like, wait, but yeah, Shone was a part of the androids thing. So after losing his father, Shone had only one reason to keep living, which was to bring his father back to life. Though the powers of Yamag are mystical and otherworldly, Niev is well aware of the scientific boundaries of the powers from Yamag. She can only rearrange the entropy and energy of electrons, nothing further. What they did succeed in doing was restoring the exterior of the father as a moving... Wait, did I get these mixed up? I think it's because maybe I should have actually jumped to Niev's thing when I was on Shone's thing, because it was shown in Niev. What was Aya doing then? Wait 1 minute, I got no, she was just going undercover. Never mind. No, she was doing the android thing. Okay. She was doing the android thing. I got them mixed up. Yev is well aware of the scientific boundaries of the powers from Yamag. She can only rearrange the entropy and energy of electrons, nothing further. What they did succeed in doing was restoring the exterior of the father as a moving android with no conscience. The father travels around the city doing what he used to love best, riding the trains and exploring the alleyways as a nonverbal autist. As an awkward, overweight man using an electric wheelchair around the city, the father android was often the target of spontaneous crime. Through tracking technology and simple devices such as implanted cameras, it was easy for Niev and Shone to catch the perpetrators, yet they had bigger plans. They began creating masses of androids that looked like easy targets for spontaneous assaults, just like the father android, in order to fish out criminals. Okay, so that's what they're... yeah. That's smart. Niev and Shone catch repeat offenders. Instead of imprisonment or death penalties, Niev and Shone turn them into weak-looking androids to serve as yet another bait android. You turn the offenders, you turn them into androids. It's like death, right? The collection of bait androids quickly grows, and so does their android technology. In the process, Shone unlocks his Cliptic. Niev quickly realizes the ability of androids as perfect agents of carrying out her operations, whether it was keeping the organized crime rings in order or addressing spontaneous crime. Her empire quickly grows as she begins contracting out androids for various clients, with one notable conglomerate individual that Shone has codenamed as Warlord due to the client's militant operations. Okay, and Warlord is one of the candidates too, I believe. Christ with Elronde. Only one thing remained as a threat to Niev's operations, other Yamags. The most prominent suspected Yamag in the world of Re is Elronde. I'm gonna just pronounce it like that, Elronde. Full Majesty, who was a non-profit researcher on sustainable cities, turned mastermind of the pinnacle of Man Kings, turned self-proclaimed semi-deity, who has active television presence and a sizable religious operation. Elronde, Full Majesty, is the only person to maintain a religion with over 5 years of longevity. All of the religions have faded aside from Elronde's cult and Jinsa, the native religion of Re, which is now mostly treated as historical folklore. In short, what interests Niev and Shone about Elronde is Elronde's tremendous wealth as the builder of Pinnacle of Man Kings, which houses all 300 plus human nations which survived the apocalypse of CTVT, as well as his often televised supernatural power of being able to heal and control human limbs via his voice. A further minor point of suspicion was that Elronde was not the only researcher nor builder to propose mixed-use skyscrapers as a solution, but rather that only his towers stood after several notable quakes in modern history. In the absolute worst case scenario, Elronde is an ancient Yamag whose power allowed him to gain absolute advantage as the creator of the Pinnacle of Man Kings. As the Pinnacle was established in response to CTVT, it may be possible that the entire apocalypse of CTVT was also initiated or propagated by Elronde. Interesting. The more I look at what I've accomplished with my powers from above, the more I fear what another can accomplish. The only thing I am thankful for is that he is not hurt, Joan, nor myself. But what if we are all future items on his agenda, executing long-term plans in his prowess? Yeah, candidate of G. Golden Age. Encounter with the Wild. Oh, don't go there. Niev and Shone eventually turn their research to the untouched area of the Wild. In the process, Niev tragically catches the transmissive tumor. With all our technology and financial resources, they are unable to find a cure. Excuse me? This is when I realized how little I could do for someone as simple as a cancer patient. There's much pain and suffering that I thought I had under my hand that I just forget. I just forget there are things happening all around the world at all times that we are all helpless against. Niev, candidate of Golden Age. Niev's glyptic. In her state of potentially not only losing all of her operations but also losing her life, Niev unlocks her glyptic. Human eyes are easily drawn to what people do with their powers, but we fail to see what they choose not to do when it is so easy for them to. Eradicating world hunger for a year takes 3 days of salary for some. That world hunger has never been eradicated. You spitting. This is true. Instead, we are the ones being fed that world hunger is not solved because we do not donate enough. Spit. You speak the truth then. Niev, candidate of Golden Age. Shone speaks of Niev's glyptic in this way. When she found out there were potentially other Yamags, she was excited at the thought of collaboration. Yeah, when she realized that if there were those that came before her, but she had to be the one to take down the problem of crime, her excitement quickly turned it into utter disgust. The cancerous wild still thrives. Millions of people still die daily from basic problems even a child knows about. No water, no food, no housing. Meanwhile, some men are happily playing semi-deities on television and amassing social media followings. This is true. What someone chooses not to do can easily overpower every single thing they have done in their lives. I cannot force them to do what could be so helpful to millions. But what I can do is do everything I can that is within my powers, in total honesty, with no lies to myself, about any bit of destructive stillness within my being. Niev, candidate of Golden Age. Okay, so Yep, she's got good morals. She might be going about things like the wrong way with her like life of crime and stuff, but she's got good morals and intentions. And right now she caught cancer. And they can't figure out the cure. So her story continues here. So Niev's aftermath. The court found evidence of captivity and abuse against Niev penetrated by the three men over the course of weeks. Perpetrated. That perpetrated. Oh, this might not be the. This might still be kind of like Aya's thing, though. Wait, I need to know if she's still alive. To the court's surprise, Aya drops the case and chooses to let the three men go. Aya undergoes cosmetic surgery, starts studying veterinary medicine, and seems to have let go of losing all three family members. She also starts becoming outgoing, dabbing in Niev's social circles as a brand new face. She renames herself Zetna. Okay, so Aya is now Zetna. Yet deep down, she has another plan. I am betting my life on one thing: that the desire to hurt others for some is like a thirst for water that cannot be quenched by drinking once. Aya, candidate of HDnG. After months of trying, Aya successfully befriends the three men over the internet. The three men do not suspect Zetna to be related to Niev, and indeed are seeking to take advantage of vulnerable women. Aya invites all three of them at once to her home. The next morning, the three men wake up chained to their respective rooms in the small apartment. Social experiment, Aya. Or also Zetna. In a twist of events, Aya did not have to exact any revenge herself. As long as one man is set free to do whatever he wants to another man who is chained, they are eager to exact vengeance on their accomplices. Aya only has two rules for the men to follow. Do not take the life of anyone. Do to them what they did to Niev. Aya, originally believing that her mind can let go of Niev's death, knowing that justice has been served. Okay, she's still under the impression that, like, they killed her, right? Like, she doesn't know about all the other things that Niev has been doing, and then the going to the wild and contracting a cancer or whatever, right? She's still under the impression that they actually killed her, like they were trying to do, but they failed, right? Aya, originally believing that her mind can let go of Niev's death, knowing that justice has been served, is instead troubled and shocked to see the men's abuse to each other. She backslides into a passive nursing role, feeding, healing each man individually until they are strong enough to exact revenge on one of the other men. The men originally abuse each other, thinking they can win Aya's trust to be set free. As time continues on, their true natures are revealed, as their primary motivation is simply to do to others what has been done to them. Whatever shame, whatever suffering, they come back 10 times stronger to exact revenge, and the next round 100 times stronger. Aya, candidate of HDnG. Aya almost wants to let the men go, but she also does not know what victim she will be unleashing the men upon. That's true. That's true. Just her initial promise to herself to never becoming a murderer now haunts her. Was that decision better than letting the men live out their nature as abusers? Aya is pushed to the brim of giving up on life itself when she notices strange signs of the men over the days. It is almost as if they are eating much less and recovering faster. The cost of running this social experiment is decreasing near exponentially. The utopian fragility. Finally, Aya unlocks her glyptic. Heaven and hell are almost one and the same, except the heaven is much more easily destroyed. What? Okay. Aya deduces that the three men have all the food, shelter, and human companionship taken care of for the rest of their lives. This alone beats many suffering populations of the world of Re. Yet instead of making this condition their heaven, the three men have turned it into a literal hell of endless mutual revenge. Any individual in heaven at any given time holds the key to destroying the state we call heaven. If heaven is a place of no tears and no suffering, how quickly it fades. When that first person chooses to hurt another, the most likely scenario is that they will receive hurt back. Even in the first instant, the state of heaven already ceases to exist. An external heaven is not something that someone can just hand to us. It has to be something we do everything we can to maintain for every moment of our existence. In that sense, is there anything more fragile than this utopian fragility? Aya, candidate of Erison. The hacking of Shone, candidate of Roars, is coming this week. He got hacked, or he's hacking something. Okay, so let's look at this. First attempt, reconstructing records of the unknown little one. Unnamed little one. So Aya's world, Yamag. Year 0, the antiquity, oldest common religion of Aya's world is born. Year 873, unnamed war. Year 10, the antiquity fades, flourishing of 10,000 cults. Year 97, CTVT outbreak. Year 98, Pinnacle of Man Kings launched. Okay, so just a year after that crazy stuff was going on. Year 101.1? Aya and Yev are orphaned. Year 101.9, CTVT evolves into the wild. Year 101.12, El Ronde launches religion. Year 108, Acro's first kidnap. We'll come back to that. First kidnapping. Year 109. Actually, let me. Who? Year 109.1, Yev visits Yamag. Year 109.3, Yev's return. Launch of Empire. So, like a couple months later, I guess. Year 112.3, Yev meets Shone. Oh, it took some time. Launch of Android-based operations. Oh, excuse me. Year 112.12, Prime stabilizes. Helon is taken into the wild by Acro. 113.7, Shone meets Aya. Yev's disappearance in court case. Wait a minute. And then we've got year 987 here. What? Wait, so because so like a year later, so did I get something mixed up? Wouldn't he have said like, hey, your sister is or has been alive running operations? Did I miss something? Okay, so let's go back up. Because yeah, we've still got Helon, candidate of X. And then that was it for that. Was there any other person? Also, it looks like I've got Helon on here twice. Okay. There's some games. There's a lore hall. Do I need to go there? There's fan theories. Oh yeah, they've got a fan name already. They're Prisma. And they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. And yeah, they release something like every day, which is pretty cool. There's like a lot of lore stuff, and then just kind of like the members. Because we've been talking about like these candidates like this whole time, but like we've got the members. The 4 members of the group. They talk about their like favorite like groups and songs and just anything in general, really. To like they interact a lot with their community, so that's really nice. Um, okay, so I've gotten confused. I still don't know if Niev is actually dead from the cancerous thing that she caught. Okay, so your thing's a little long. So we've got Heon, candidate of X, Guardian of the Wild. Guardian of the Wild? Why would you want to do that? Unless you're making sure that they don't. The wild is a bad place, though, right? Creator of Theory, Heelon's game. Heelon's Glyptic is the Everwatch. So Heelon, candidate of X, first comes into the lives of Aya, Niev, and shown as a rescued victim of kidnapping. Heelon dismisses the cases in court against her kidnap. That's a girl too. There's so many like ladies in this so far. Yeah, there's so many ladies. Okay. Um, against her kidnapper, a presumed serial killer and physician who takes his victims out into the wild. The kidnapper did not return to the city with Heelon as his last victim, and in combination with Heelon refusing to press any charges, it was widely assumed that Heelon had killed her kidnapper, and returned to the city in an attempt to save herself. I mean, after Nev goes missing, Aya searches throughout all new records to find that there have been no kidnappings for almost 1.5 years. Yeah, so in that time, that's when Nev and Shone were doing stuff, right? With the androids and stuff. With the exceedingly high crime rate in the pinnacle of Man King, she puts all hope of finding Nev on one person, Heelon, the last recorded kidnapping victim in history. Oh, interesting. Heelon, candidate of X, and Aya, candidate of Erison. Aya locates Heelon and tries to visit for any clues that can help find Niev. Finally, after the assistance of Heelon's mother, the three meet. Heelon at first is cold to Aya and knows Niev cannot have gone through the same thing she has. Aya cannot understand why Heelon can be so sure, even when Heelon does not know anything about Niev. Heelon also does not express a strong interest in the case of Niev. However, she leaves Aya with the remark that Niev is anywhere in the wild. Heelon herself will go that if any yeah, Heelon herself will go out to find Niev for Aya, which she was. But where in the timeline does this take place? Because she did go to the wild. I will do it personally. Walk out there into the cancerous wild for you. In case she, Niev, is the one I have been waiting for. Heelon, candidate of X. The wild backstory. The world of Aya is split into three: Yamag, pinnacle of man kings, and the wild. Aside from the metaphysical Yamag, the pinnacle of man kings, which is a hyper conglomerate of skyscrapers housing all of humanity, was constructed as a direct response to the rise of the wild. The wild is a result of a highly infectious case of CTVT, the only form of cancer that can transmit via touch known to mankind. Although CTVT primarily affects canines, the first case of canine to human transmission became an uncontrolled pandemic which killed close to 40% of the population. Population-wide hysteria and treatment of victims' bodies resulted in many cases of CTVT being found near the edge of Aya's world. There, the CTVT continued to thrive, eventually crossing the animal-plant barrier to infest various forms of flora and fauna. Routine extermination by fire proved to be ineffective, with many frontline occupations no longer wishing to risk contact with CTVT. I would not either. Touch? What? Alronde, non-candidate, rises to power with his solution for mega skyscrapers to house humanity. Over 400 nations converged in the growing conglomerate of skyscrapers later named as the Pinnacle of Man Kings, or simply the city, which occupies less than 1% of the original landmass of Aya's world. The rest of the world is overtaken by CTVT cells, thriving in the wild. Humanity controls CTVT by uniting efforts to maintain one common boundary between the city and the wild, as well as aggressive quarantine, which keeps death rates at 0.1% of the population per year. I see it now, rising in the deep. It is like an atom. The nucleus is so dense, you would not believe it. The unnamed little one, candidate of X. I want to know more about the unnamed little one. The kidnapping of Hyun. Hyun willingly followed her supposed kidnapper, a physician called Acro, into the wild. The physician used his charm, appearance, and grand wish of saving mankind to lure many women into his mission. The physician secretly infected various single women with samples of CTVT. When the CTVT begins to show any form of spreading, he comes into their lives to save them via treatment. At early stages, as CTVT is primarily skin-based, only minor surgery is required as effective treatment. However, once every so often, he will encounter women that have resisted multiple attempts of CTVT infection. He courts these women and takes them into the wild to live with him. Why would you want to go into the wild? Also, ladies, why would you? Why? Why? If she's the one, then the wild will definitely accept her. Acro, the physician. Acro, being unable to save multiple of his patients through CTVT, dedicated his life to CTVT research. After losing many of his research colleagues to CTVT as well due to transmission in the lab, what did you expect was going to happen? Studying this stuff. What did you expect? Acro makes the discovery that he is unable to infect himself. Why would you want to? I'm so confused. He's unable to infect himself with any CTVT strain known to mankind. Either I am completely immune or I am not. What is it within me that saves me? Can anything ever be truly immune, though? To a specimen that ever evolves, and is not one but 1,000,000 different things. Acro the physician. Whatever. Whatever to you, I say. Attempting to ensure his complete immunity to CTVT, Acro secretly crosses the boundaries to set up a living space in the wild. After nearly 1 year of surviving in the wild without being infected, he begins his second mission to find his partner, the other immune female specimen that will give rise to a new humanity. His repeated attempts to infect many women in the city sounds so terrible, and it is, has resulted in a number of promising females who show immunity to CTVT. A total of 23 females lived with Acro in the wild over his lifetime. 4 dedicated their lives to researching in the wild. Really? Why? Unless y'all are like, because like that basically used to be your home, right? Is this like a I'm taking it back kind of thing, or what? Since everybody just lives up there now, but down there, that's where before the whole whatever the catastrophe was called with the wild and the stuff, yeah, like that was their home. They used to live there, but still, are they willingly, the ones who are actually getting infected, are they? No, they're not willingly getting infected. Because he's using them like test subjects. They are test subjects. Okay. They dedicated their lives to researching the wild. Out of the 4, none survived aside from the last one, Elon. Oh. Helon's return to the city. Acro's quest ends with Helon as his last kidnapping when Acro develops TTVT. Oh, you finally got it. Instead of returning to the city for treatment, Helon tearfully watches a defeated Acro die as he insists on letting nature run its course. Okay. Because I'm like, what? But she was out of the 4 who dedicated their lives to researching there. So she was okay with... She was kidnapped? Is this Stockholm Syndrome? Could you... Tearfully? I am not the one, Helon. Don't worry. You never have to cry, Helon. You still have a chance. Acro the physician. 2 months after Acro's passing, perhaps due to her manic attempts to experiment all strains of CTVT on herself. Girl, what? Helon catches CTVT. She returns to the city, much to her mother's relief, as a cancer patient. Helon remains in remission when she meets Aya, and knowing what she knows about the wild, she remains its guardian for the rest of her life. Girl, you could have just went your whole life without catching this thing, and you decide, I need to infect myself. I need to see. And but when you didn't they say it's touch, or is it like not people who do it? It's just like the wild in general, like the CTVT. I don't know. I don't know where Helon's at here, honestly. The Council of the 5. Acro and the 4 women make various discoveries about the nature of the wild, which eventually unlocks Helon's Glyptic, the Everwatch. The Archives of Lanmis. Lanmis was the first woman to stay in the wild with Acro. Lanmis hypothesized that these cancer cells, which are able to exist outside of a host, must derive nutrients from other sources, and that the different strains should exist in a competitive or even predator-prey relationship. Over the course of her life, she documented over 10,000 strains and constructed a complex food web, resulting in a document Acro named Archive of Lanmis after her death. The document is one of humanity's earliest attempts to use cell types to suppress other cell types, utilizing natural competition as a way towards a cure. Did we ever think that they work together as one tumor? No. Each cell only has its own survival in mind, whatever it takes, even killing their own kind. I wish I will never be that way, Lanmis. The Club of Xanthia. Xanthia was the second woman to stay after Lanmis, who did not live until the arrival of Xanthia. Xanthia realized that Lanmis's research had to be refined, as cells unfortunately behave differently in the wild versus on a human host. She described it as the difference between killing a fish stranded on a beach versus killing a fish in deep waters, and knew that human experiments based on Lanmis's archives must be completed in Lanmis's work to have value. As a knitting hobbyist, Xanthia was able to use her network to recruit people who would help them, as Acro and herself were immune to most strains. The knitting club let their skins be... Why do you guys want to get infected? Why do you... Let their skins be infected, then treated with the competitive strain documented by Lanmis. The club lasted only a little over 1 year. Experimented on the knitting club so they can get this cancerous thing. So you could try to cure them. But no, they just... Are we saying the club as in like the people in the club like died? Or are we saying that she like disbanded the knitting club and she didn't need them anymore? Or is it because she died? Because she did die. It is the sin of cancer to only treat us as their environment. They don't see us as living beings. We are just their container. Maybe this is humanity too. When we see nature, Cynthia. I have no idea what's going on right now. This is so long. Okay. The elixir of Acro. Acro, unlike what most people assumed about him, was not only interested in finding a wife so he could give birth to children that are immune to CTVT. That wasn't a sentence? Anyway, as a physician, very early on into the plan, he had realized that even if a woman with immunity is found, not 100% of their offspring will inherit the immunity. And which child do I give up? Same question as our world right now. 0.0% death rate from CTVT is low, but it is someone, and which someone do we give up on treating? Acro. Acro's research ran parallel to Lanmus and Xanthia. He focused on developing the elixir, a virus that could inject the apoptosis sequence back into CTVT. Apoptosis, or the programmed suicide that a cell executes when it accumulates too many DNA replication errors, is a function that CTVT lacks, just like other cancer cells. Acro knew that the masses of cancer cells in the wild are not just enemies. Every single cell in the wild originated as a healthy, normal cell in a dog, a plant, a mother, a father, a child. Yet over repeated DNA errors, these cells have lost the apoptosis command, and in place of apoptosis, the command, or zeta, of prioritizing one's survival over everything else becomes the only focus of the cell. Apoptosis is what stops the cells between our fingers from growing so they are not connected. It is what draws our face, our smiles. As a multi-celled organism, apoptosis makes us who we are, and without it, we are just a featureless conglomerate tumor. These cancer cells have a quest for eternal life, and like us, the quest ends up looking ugly when we strive for a better life at the sacrifice of other people. At the sacrifice of other people, says Acro. Isn't that kind of just... That sounds hypocritical. The game of Helon. The game of Helon was developed when Helon discovered an area in the wild where strains reached stability, and the same strains of cancer cells can replicate to form colonies the size of small hills. Helon cultivated predator cell types based on the research of Lanmus and Xanthia, in large amounts drop onto these hills of cancer cells. To her amusement, the hill-sized colonies were able to split into smaller colonies in response. Elon quickly realized that this was the advantage of cancer cells. Cancer cells do not respect being in a multicellular organism. They can form tumors colonies if they wish to, but for survival, they can easily revert back to a single-celled organism. Elon realized that single-celled organisms have an ultimate advantage, as they cannot get cancer. When a multi-celled organism mutates, the new mutated cells must be compatible with the entire organism, or else the new mutated cells will overtake the rest and kill off the larger multi-celled organism. However, when a single-celled organism mutates, there is no danger of incompatibility. There is no larger multi-celled organism for it to kill. It simply is the new, stronger version of its previous self, and therefore a single-celled organism can never get cancer. For a two-celled organism, when one cell mutates, it must be compatible with the one more cell. For a three-celled organism, when one mutates, it must be compatible with two more cells. Human beings, we have trillions of cells. When one mutates, what are the chances the other trillions will be compatible with a new one? Mutation to a single-celled organism is gaining superpowers. What? The same mutation to a multi-celled organism is cancer. Elon, candidate of X. Elon's Glyptic, the Everwatch. Due to the nature of single-celled organisms not having to worry about incompatibility between different cells after mutation, this results in immortality in the face of cancer. Multi-celled organisms, on the other hand, face risk of cancer after mutation, and yet mutation is supposed to be the only driving force that causes single-celled organisms to become into multi-celled organisms. In other words, through mutation, single-celled organisms evolved into a form that is more at risk of dying to mutations. Single-celled organisms never how many times have I said this? Never have to worry about getting cancer after a mutation. If survival of the fittest is the only rule in nature, we should all be single-celled organisms. What gave rise to us? What gave us a chance? Whatever it is, one's own selfish survival cannot be the only rule. What an ugly world that would be. Whatever it is, we are under its overwatch and care. Thank you for giving us a chance in history. Elon, candidate of X. Okay, so Elon's story is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. But also very very much science. Very science. So we've got this hall. Do I need to look at it? Yeah, I saw they were doing some type of something. Yeah, on Twitter. Yeah, there's a lot of lore stuff on Twitter, but I'm sure they'll add more stuff to this wiki page. That's more like theories and stuff, I guess. Okay, so we know so much about these. I mean, mostly these ones, and you, but we'll get some more stuff, I guess, for the actual group members, I'm sure. Later on. That was all very interesting. That was a very long and interesting read. Let me see if I'm missing anything though. Okay, so there was this. I looked through this before. I think that's how I got so yeah, them being like a shadow group, like we're not really gonna see them. We'll see like stuff like this probably for their debut, and probably even after that they'll be like shadows or something, because they're technically dead, right? So like the lore of the other characters is very interesting. I think so far, Niev, I liked her story and I hope she's still alive, because her story just kind of cut off after she got the freaking TTVT or whatever. But it's shown that you can like survive from that. So even if she really needs to meet Helon then. So these are just kind of like FAQ type stuff, and this is their like their label. So they're Korean and Beijing owned, so that's pretty cool. But it's like a full like just Korean, just a Korean group, small Korean group, and they're just trying. They're just putting themselves out there to have like a really interesting like unique group that they wanted. So yeah, all the same stuff. I was getting into that actually. That was a lot to read, but they have the lore of like the 100 candidates so far. I mean, we only have like a couple of them, but I wonder like how are they gonna correlate with like each other, I guess, because already we've got, they're all the tiny bit of people that we have so far out of that 100 candidates, they're already coming together. So if we have 100 of them, then how many of their stories were like intertwined too and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very curious to see more. I'll check back on this page. Maybe I'll do another video like this in like a few months or something like that. But yeah, the group itself, HDnG, so they've got like this dialect thing going on. So members also sing in an ancient and historic dialects and accents of Korean. So it's gonna sound interesting, I think, to us who have never heard that before. I'm sure I've never heard an ancient dialect of Korean being spoken. If one day we can achieve 100 different dialects, it will be a success to promote the beauty of Korean language. So I like that. But for now, it is hard to fit all accents into one debut song, so please look forward to future songs from HDnG. And yeah, they're not gonna do like our face reveal or anything, because they are not real yet, or real again, basically. We need all the, they have to solve the mystery, you know, of everything that's happened to these 100 candidates. And only then will they like no longer be shadows. I do believe that's what the lore said. So yeah, they're given a second chance at life, and yeah. So yeah, that was HDnG's official lore. Like, it's so in depth, like, oh my gosh, it's mind-blowing. And then there's more stuff to it too, like there's the stuff that, like, I guess the Instagram and the Twitter stuff are kind of like the same, so check those out. I'll leave links in the description for all the stuff right now, and their channel, they were able to reach like 1,000+ subscribers, so happy for them, because their companies, like, we hope to like even get like 1,000 like views or something. We hope that, like, they're aiming small. I hope they I hope it turns out well for them. I hope the debut is well received by everyone, and I hope they are able to continue with this project because it's very, very, very interesting. So yeah, I realize I am see-through. That's cool. So that's gonna be it for me, dears. Check out the stuff that's up there. It's always in the links in the description below. My website is a central hub for all the things I do, so you can check out my art, games, shops, and Patreon all through over there. Join my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Like, comment, subscribe if you so choose to, and I'll see you, dears, sometime soon. Bye bye.